Welcome everyone once again. The topic of the discussion for today is the MOS structure and the threshold voltage of the MOSFET. So one by one we will be discussing the two topics today. Now before moving towards the structure, firstly we should know about the basic characteristics of the MOS. The MOSFET is a four-terminal device basically, naming as a gate, drain, source and substrate. Sometimes substrate is also known as a backgate, and it is unipolar in nature. Either the holes will be the responsible for conduction if it is a PMOS, and either or we can say the electrons will be conducting the current if it is a case of a NMOS. It is a voltage control device. It has a high input impedance, and these are the some characteristics, or we can say the properties, which makes it very popular into the semiconductor electronic field or the device field. Now, if I talk further talking about the MOSFET, these devices can be categorized or classified into two types. One is a depletion type of a MOSFET, other is a enhancement type of a MOSFET. Now, the difference between the two is when we are talking of a depletion type MOSFET, this is known as a normally on MOSFET. Means the channel is already being fabricated at the time of the fabrication. We need not to construct or to produce a channel by the external means or by externally applying the voltage onto it. But when we talk of the enhancement type MOSFET, then enhancement type MOSFET means that during the fabrication process, the structure of the MOSFET is totally being built up, but the channel portion is uh, vacant. And whenever the device need to conduct or it need to be in a on condition, then by applying the externally voltage to this device, we have to form a certain conducting medium in that portion which is left vacant. So this is known as a enhancement type of a MOSFET. Now further we can say that depending upon the channel formation, whether it is formed by holes or it is formed by electrons. So if the channel is formed by holes, then the device is known as a P channel MOSFET or a P MOSFET. If the channel is formed by electrons, then the device is known as a N channel or a NMOS device. These are certain symbols of the NMOS and PMOS. So see, the first two symbols are for the NMOS and these next two are for the PMOS. Now see over here how this symbol is made of. See, it has a four terminals: drain, source, gate and bulk. This bulk is also known as a substrate or a body, and there is a gap between a gate and the line which is connecting this drain and source. So basically this line is showing the channel, and this gap is over here because we have discussed in the earlier or the previous lectures that MOS is a structure which is used to make a MOSFET as a device. So in a MOS structure we have a metal layer, then we have an insulating oxide layer. So this gap between the gate and the drain and source, this is showing this insulating layer in between. So that's where this gap is formed over here. Gate is the input terminal and the voltage is applied from this gate. Current flows in between drain and source. If NMOS is a device, then current will flow from drain to source. If PMOS is a device, then current will flow from source to drain. So in the NMOS, we say that because as the current is flowing from drain to source, it means drain will always be at a higher potential with respect to source. And if I talk of a PMOS, then current is flowing from source to drain. So source will always be at a higher potential in the PMOS with respect to its drain terminal. Now the second symbol. This second symbol is showing an arrow here at the source terminal. This arrow basically is showing the direction of current flow. We know in a NMOS current flows from drain to source, so that's why this arrowhead is pointing towards the source direction and it is coming from drain. So it is towards the or we can say it is in the outward direction. Now if I talk of this PMOS, in a PMOS this arrow is uh, pointing inside. It is again at the source. Yes, remember over here the arrow which is showing the current direction, this will always be placed on a source terminal. This will never be placed on the drain terminal of the device. This is a very important point to be noted down over here. And in the PMOS case, this arrow is pointing away from the source. Why? Because in the PMOS, current flows from source to drain. So that's why it is showing that current is coming out of the source and it is going to the drain. So this is how we make the symbols. Here, this is a bubble over here. This bubble is showing the complementary, or we can say the inverted uh, approach, or the inverted uh, operation of the PMOS device, and this inversion is basically with respect to the NMOS, because both the devices are complementary in the nature, and PMOS gets on a negative voltage, and that's why this bubble, this inversion symbol is placed over here. Mostly these symbols which are free from this source direction, this current direction on the source, these symbols are used for the digital circuit design. And the symbols which are showing the current direction, they are used for the analog circuit design. So this is how we describe the symbol of the MOSFET devices. Now moving towards the structure of the MOSFET. So these are the two views of the MOSFET structure. The first is the 3D view, the three-dimensional view, and the second is showing the simpler version, which is a two-dimensional view. Now from here you can see that in a three-dimensional view, you see that this is a substrate. Again, it is a type of a NMOS device. So the P-type substrate. Substrate means a native silicon wafer on which the device is fabricated. So this is a silicon type of a substrate, and the doping which is done to it, it makes it a P-type or N-type. So when we are working with the NMOS, we should take a P-type substrate, and when we will be working with a PMOS, we take a N-type substrate. In this substrate, this N plus regions which is forming source and drain, they are diffused into it. This diffusion process is done to diffuse this source and drain terminals, or the source and drain region. So that's why these are also known as a diffusion region or diffusion area of the device. So they form the source and drain. And up to the time when we are not applying any potential to the source or the drain terminal, they are interchangeable. Either can be written as a source or a drain. But once we apply some potential, then it will get fixed, because we know that if it is a NMOS, drain will always be at a higher potential, and if it is a PMOS, then source will be at a higher potential with respect to the drain. In between source and drain, we have this uh, portion left where the channel need to be formed, and channel will form when we apply some particular gate voltage from the gate terminal, and with the influence of the electric field developed because of this gate voltage applied, the channel is formed. Channel is basically, it is a conducting medium. It is a layer where either the electrons or holes will accumulate into in a dense form. As see, in this case, source and drain both are of a N type. So the conducting medium which need to be formed over here, it should be of a N type, means where the electrons will be present. Then only the carriers can move from source to drain, and the current flow will start from drain to source. So this formation of channel, we have earlier studied in the MOS capacitor lecture that inversion is a process by which we form a conducting layer over here, the medium over here. So that is what we do in this also. So whenever the gate voltage is applied, then because of the effect of the gate voltage, a conducting medium forms over here. And this gap between source and drain, this is denoted as L, and this is also known as a channel length. Now, if you can see the same thing in a very simplified fashion in a two-dimensional view. See, this is a source and the drain terminal, which is of a N plus type. This is a P-type substrate. Here, this white portion, this is a insulating layer, which is silicon dioxide, and this portion is a metal layer, which is forming the gate terminal. So, gate is the input for source, we just take it as a reference terminal for the further calculations which we'll be doing for the threshold voltage extraction or the derivation for the current equations. So then we take source as a ground terminal. Yes, body or the substrate. We too have discussed this with the threshold voltage, that if the body is connected to source, then we will be having no source, substrate bias effect to the device. And if the body is biased differently from the source, then it may affect to the threshold voltage depending upon whether this body terminal is a forward biased or a reverse bias. And here this is a drain. Then this is treated as an output terminal. Mostly in the digital circuits, we take the output from the drain terminal. So this is how the structure of the MOSFET is. And now further we will be moving towards the threshold voltage, because that is very important. Threshold voltage is a voltage, or we can say it is that minimum voltage which is applied between gate and source of a MOSFET that is needed to turn on the device. If you remember this, we have discussed this energy band diagram earlier also. This is a band diagram of the inversion region where the intrinsic level bend in such a way that the surface potential by which the bending is happening, that is becoming equal to 2 times of a Fermi potential, that is 2 phi f. So this defines the threshold voltage basically. So the threshold voltage is that gate voltage where surface potential is equal to twice of phi f, means a complete inversion of the semiconductor in the interfacial region takes place over here. So now we have further in this lecture, we will discuss about, and we will firstly derive the equation for the threshold voltage, that on which parameters it is depending upon, what will be the change in the equation will come when we are doing it for the NMOS device or for a PMOS device, and what on basically this threshold voltage, why it is important, as we have just defined that it is that minimum voltage which is needed to turn the device on. So this is very important to be understood, that what will be the actual estimation of the threshold voltage, because once we have derived the threshold voltage, it will give a a range, or we can say it will give a value of a voltage on which the device will start conduction. So it may be a 1 volt, 2 volt, zero point 0.5 volt. So that will also, later on we will see that this threshold voltage will also contribute to a power dissipation. Why so? Because this is the minimum voltage to get the device on. If the level of this threshold voltage will be high, it means device will be getting on in a at a higher voltage. And if the device will get on at a higher voltage, it means it will consume more power. So this is of a very big importance, and this is the first design parameter, we can say, of the MOSFET device. So we will continue with the derivation now. Now we will discuss about the threshold voltage of the MOSFET transistor. Now before moving towards the threshold voltage calculation, we should understand this thing, that all the charges and the capacitances defined over here will be in a per unit area. This is done because the MOSFET device is fabricated on a planar technology. So rather than volume, we consider here the per unit area dimensions. So firstly, we should see that what are the few parameters which will be used in calculating or in defining the threshold voltage of the MOSFET. So first is the phi ms. This is work function difference. This is a work function difference of metal and semiconductor. Of metal and semiconductor. Second parameter come across as Q oxide, which is the oxide charge density. This oxide over here is SiO2, which is a sandwiched layer in between metal and semiconductor. Then third is the QB. QB is the depletion region charge density. It is depletion region charge density.
or it is also known as bulk layer charge density. So basically this QB is a charge density of the bulk region, which is a lower region of the substrate of MOSFET. Then we have a term QN or QP. QN when we have a N type of a channel, QP when we have a P type of a channel, and this is known as a inversion charge density. This is like for electrons in the case of N channel device and holes in the case of P channel device. So this is basically also known as a channel charge density. So these are some terms, and yes, one more, QM. This is a metal charge density. So these are few terminologies which we will be using in the further derivation for the threshold voltage of the MOSFET device. Now moving further, as per the charge balance equation, we know that the negative charge is equal to the positive charge, and applying the same charge balance equation over here, it states that the summation of all the charges will be 0. I am taking here the case of a N channel device, that's why I stated here QN. If a P channel device will be considered, then this QN will be replaced by the QP. Now if we talk of the potential at the surface, that is given as psi s. And since we know that phi m is not equal to phi s, means there is a work function difference between the metal and semiconductor, and because of this work function difference, the potential at the surface, this surface is silicon and silicon dioxide surface. Surface is given as psi s plus the work function difference. So this is another parameter which we should consider over here. Now after this, a very important parameter which is again used for the derivation of threshold voltage, that is the oxide capacitance, which is denoted as Cox. This is oxide capacitance, or it is also known as a gate oxide capacitance per unit area. So gate oxide capacitance per unit area. Now if I consider, let's assume that Lg is the gate length, Wg be the gate width, okay, T oxide be the oxide thickness of the oxide, thickness of SiO2 layer. Then the gate capacitance will be given as epsilon oxide into gate length into the gate width upon the oxide thickness. This is how we define the gate capacitance. And if we have to talk of oxide capacitance, then as stated over here, oxide capacitance is gate oxide capacitance per unit area. So this will be Cg upon Lg into Wg, means the gate capacitance upon the Now this Lg into Wg is basically the area of the gate. So now moving further, C oxide is then given as E oxide upon T oxide using this equation and replacing this over here. We will be getting oxide capacitance equals to epsilon oxide upon T oxide farad per meter square. Now this is in a per unit area, where epsilon oxide is the permittivity of the oxide and it is given as free space oxide into free space permittivity into the permittivity of silicon dioxide. So this is how we define the oxide capacitance. Now again moving towards the metal charge density Qn. Now we know that the charge is equals to capacitance into voltage. So this metal charge density can be rewritten as Q oxide into C oxide into VGS minus psi s plus phi ms, which is a potential at the surface. So this is how we can define the metal charge density. And by using the charge balance equation, this can be again rewritten as this is equal to minus of Q oxide plus bulk density plus inversion density. This term comes from the charge balance equation, which we have written at the very first stage of the threshold voltage. So this is how we are gaining it. Now rearranging this equation, we will get gate to source voltage VGS as phi ms minus Q oxide upon C oxide minus QB upon C oxide minus Qn upon C oxide plus psi. So this is a very generalized equation which states that what will be the gate to source voltage. Now this VGS over here is gate to source voltage. Source is taken as a reference terminal in case of a MOSFET, and all the voltages, whether it's an input or an output voltage, it is considered with respect to the source terminal. Now as we are defining the threshold voltage, so basically threshold voltage is that amount, is the minimum gate to source voltage required for the device to start the current conduction. So basically that amount of gate to source voltage which is required to start the current conduction in the device is stated as a threshold voltage. And when we talk of a threshold voltage, then this Qn, which is an inversion charge density, this will be very small. This will be very small at VGS equals to VT naught. VT naught means threshold voltage at zero bias, means when substrate is not biased, we are grounding the substrate. Then this zero is considered over here. So when VGS is VT naught, then Qn is very small. So from this equation, we can, when we place VGS equals to VT naught in this equation, and when we neglect this term, then the equation for the threshold voltage written as phi ms minus Q oxide minus upon C oxide minus QB upon C oxide plus sides. And as we have seen in the inversion process, the inversion or the strong inversion occur when psi s equals to 2 phi b. So now when we are talking of a threshold voltage, which is that voltage from where the conduction will start in the device, so then the psi s potential will also be replaced by twice phi b. So this is a general equation of the threshold voltage. Now few terminologies will get changed into it when we will consider NMOS or a PMOS device. So further we will see that what changes will occur in this equation if the device is a NMOS type or it is a PMOS type. So when I have to write it for the NMOS, then I'll write it like this. I take a one more suffix as N, which will interpret that now I am writing for an N channel device. So this will be given as phi ms minus Q oxide upon C oxide. This will remain unchanged because this is a term related to the flat band voltage. Now comes the bulk charge density, and then we write down this. This is how we will write it for the NMOS, and when I am writing it for the PMOS, then this will be stated as Vt naught P, where the suffix P is for the PMOS, and it will be written as phi ms minus Q oxide upon C oxide minus Qb upon C oxide minus 2 phi. So this is how we change this equation as per the concerned device. If it is NMOS, then these symbols will get changed. Rather than minus, they will be having plus, and if this is a PMOS, then these are going to be changed. Now this is because this is a bulk charge density QB, or the depletion region charge density. In the case, this is a generalized equation. If I talk of a N channel, then the bulk charge density, it means it has a majority of our holes in the substrate, which is a bulk. Then this sign will remain changed because this QB will be positive in that case. But when I talk of a PMOS may, in the PMOS we have a bulk or the substrate as a majority of electrons, and electrons are the negatively charged particle. So this minus sign will be over here, and here because of the holes we will be having a plus sign. So this is how we state a zero biased threshold voltage, means a threshold voltage without the substrate bias effect, and this is the equation for this. Now still there are number of terms to get explored, like on which parameters this bulk charge density is going to be dependent. We have to look for that also. So now further we will be seeing that how this QB will be controlled and what are the different parameters on which the QB will be dependent upon. So now again, considering the NMOS device, looking for the detailed equation or the expression for the bulk charge density. Now just now we have seen that the threshold voltage is given as given by this equation, which is phi ms minus Q oxide upon C oxide, Q plus QB upon C oxide plus 2 phi B. Now over here, this QB, which is of a main concern over here, this is known as a bulk charge density or depletion charge. And as earlier we have discussed that in the MOSFET calculations, we use, rather than per unit volume, we take the parameters or the densities as a per unit area, because of the planar technology used to fabricate the MOS devices. So this will be per unit area, and let NA be the acceptor density, or we also call it as a number of atoms per unit volume. So this QB is given as Q into Na into W, where W is the thickness of depletion width, depletion layer. Now, which depletion layer I am talking of? Suppose I have, say I have a device over here. These are the diffusion areas denoting source and drain. This is here P-type silicon substrate. Say, now I am taking it as a ground, and here we have a gate terminal. So this is source and other side is drain, and now see I am taking both side ground. So there is no potential difference at both the sides, and here there is a portion where the channel will get formed. So I named it as W, and if this is my X direction, if I take it in say as a X direction, so I denote a boundary over here where X is equal to 0 towards the SiO2 surface, and touching towards the silicon substrate, X is having a width W. So this is what I am taking over here, QB equals to Q Na W. So this is clear up to here. Now further we will be solving this and finding out the expression for this W by using the Poisson's equation. So now in further calculation I will use these boundary limits, that at X equals to 0 and X equals to W. Now if I say from here, say at X equals to 0 and at X equals to W, I have a two concern over here. When I am talking at X equals to 0, it means I am talking of that psi is equal to psi s, or I can say that there is a potential, surface potential, when I am talking of this boundary, and that surface potential we have earlier discussed when we were discussing about the bending in the energy bands during the accumulation, depletion and inversion process. And when I am talking of this boundary condition means where at towards the bulk region or the bulk surface, when X is equals to W, then at this time psi or the surface potential, that is 0. So these boundary conditions will be used in the further calculations. So now, remembering the Poisson's equation. Now what the Poisson equation states? It says that d2 psi upon dx square is equal to minus rho upon epsilon s, where rho is the resistivity, psi is the potential at any value of x, psi is potential at any value of x, that is denoted by psi, and this rho is given as minus q Na in the case of a NMOS we are considering. So this equation can be rewritten as d2 psi upon dx square equals to q times Na, where q is here an electronic charge, sin s. Sin s is the permittivity. Okay, so this is the initial equation which we are having. Now I will integrate this equation further and then place the boundary conditions into that. So integrating this equation, have a equation now, d2 psi dx square qna upon epsilon s. Integrating this, what I will get? After integration, this will be left as d psi by dx, and this will be having qna by epsilon s as a constant into x plus some proportionality constant, suppose I name it as k1. Now to find out that what will be the value of k1, I place a boundary condition at x equals to w. Now when I talk of x equals to w, it means I am saying that at x equals to w, d psi by dx equals to 0, because this is that boundary condition where under which we have a bulk region, and in the bulk region electric field generated will be 0. So therefore k1 after placing this will be equal to minus of q na w upon epsilon s. So this I state as equation 1, suppose, and this I state as a equation 2. Now again, if now we have calculated that what is k1, so again I place this value of k1 into the equation 1, and then I rewrite it as d psi by dx equals to q na upon epsilon s into x minus q naw upon epsilon s. So this is basically a value of k1. Now rearranging or further solving this equation, it will be written as d psi by dx is equal to, now from here I will take this q na by epsilon s as a common term. So I will be left with x minus w. So this is my third equation. Okay. So further again, because this x we don't know what particularly it is, so getting rid of this x term, again I will integrate. Integrating the equation 3 again, I will be getting here psi q na upon epsilon s, treating it as a common term. This will be then integrated as x square by 2 minus wx. Again one new proportionality constant will come into picture, and I name it as k2. Now again the question again arises here to find out the value of this k2, because this is not a known term for us. So again applying the boundary conditions, but now I'll take the boundary condition at x equals to 0. Now we know at x equals to 0, psi is equals to psi s, because this is that condition where we have a SiO2 and Si interface. So at this interface we have a potential equals to surface potential. Now placing this into the equation 4, placing x equals to 0, this term will get cancelled. This will be all 0, and k2 will equal to psi s only. So this is how we get the value of k2. Now again I'll place this value of k2 here in the equation 4, and rewriting this, it will give q na epsilon s x square by 2 minus wx plus psi s. So this is the equation which I am getting, and further now again I will place a one more boundary condition into it, so that this x terminology, which is not a particular value, it is an unknown for us, this will get eliminated, or this will be removed by some other known means. So I'll take here a boundary condition as at x equals to w. Now at x equals to w, we know that psi is equal to 0. And now placing this, suppose this is equation 5, So this will change as psi s equals to, this will be 0. These x terms will be replaced by w. So this will be w square by 2 minus w square. So this will be minus w square by 2. And this psi will be 0. So I will be taking all the terms on a one side and psi s on a other side. So this will give me q n a w square upon 2 epsilon s. And from here, if I have to write down that what will be w, then it will be written as 2 epsilon s psi s upon q n a. So this is the depletion layer width. And if I talk of the maximum width, so maximum width will be w will be equal to w max. If w is equal to w max, then that will be the case when psi s will be again denoted as twice phi b. So I will rewrite this w as w max, and it will be written as this into 2 phi b upon q. Now it is well known expression for us that what will be the depletion region width. Now again I can further redefine my bulk charge density, which was earlier given as QNA into W at the start of this expression. Now placing this expression of W over here, I will be getting this QB as QNA epsilon s twice phi b under root. So this is how the bulk charge density dependent upon. So basically it is dependent upon the doping concentration. It is also dependent upon the bulk potential. So if we have to control this parameter, then obviously we have two things in our hand. Either we can play with the bulk potential or we can have a doping concentration. But other way we will be seeing this bulk potential is again value which is dependent upon the doping concentration. So basically the doping concentration is a very important or the utmost importance parameter for controlling this QP. Now if I have to rewrite the threshold voltage equation from here in a more detailed way, so that can be rewritten as, suppose I am writing for the NMOS, so I will use here suffix N, and this will be rewritten as phi ms minus Q oxide upon C oxide. Now we know that we have a term over here as plus QB upon C oxide. So rather than using this, writing this plus QB upon C oxide, I will write it as 1 upon C oxide and QB in this way. QNA epsilon s into 2 phi b under root plus twice phi b. So this is how we can elaborate the equation of threshold voltage. Similarly, we can write it for the PMOS also. I'll show it that too. PMOS equation will be rewritten as minus 1 upon C oxide. Now this Na will be replaced by Nd, the donor concentration. So this is how we can write the equation, detailed equation for the threshold voltage of a NMOS and PMOS, but under the condition of a zero substrate bias. So till here we have not seen the variation in the threshold voltage with respect to the substrate biasing. But now further we will be discussing about that what will be the change in the threshold voltage if we are applying some biasing to the substrate, because till now we have made the substrate ground.